to Fred and Elle Talk Shop. I am Elle, and that is Fred. And he's in a silly mood with his glasses. Tonight, we are talking about makeup and prosthetics, which is really fun because we really don't know a whole lot about makeup and prosthetics, but we're going to give it our best. How about this? That's kind of the point of the conversation is we are not experts in this field, but we have managed to try some stuff out.
I think we've created some pretty cool effects, actually.
We have created some relatively cool effects.
With some experimentation and some failure.
Yes, we are excellent at failure.
Well, not a necessary part of the process.
That's right. But before we jump into talking about our makeup and prosthetic failures and successes, it's been a really busy week for us. And when I say us, I mean me, in that we have redone our entire website.
You have redone our entire website.
I have redone our entire website. And it would just please me to no end and warm my little stinking beating heart if you would go to fredandelldesigns.com, FredandElle designs.com, and subscribe to our little blog so that when I rarely and infrequently update, hopefully I'll do better, you'll get some of that, or tell us what we're doing well, what we could improve on, what resources we could put on there that would help you be a better cosplayer.
She's expecting me to update it.
I mean, we had a conversation about that. We had a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of does the two-fingered clickety-clackety on...
I'm a Luddite. I just touch technology and it dies.
I do kind of keep you away from it. It makes me a little nervous when you get too close. But the other thing that I set up this week is this recording will now become an official podcast on Spotify. That's crazy to me. So as soon as we finish these, we go ahead and upload them to Spotify. So if you don't have time to listen to the whole thing here live on the stream, you can listen to it at your leisure in the car. And if we have any sort of visuals, we'll make sure that we share them on our website so that you can access them. So without further ado, let's talk makeup. So my first question for Fred is, so how did it feel to wear makeup for the first time? And as he thinks about his answer, I will point out that on several occasions, I have put straight up beauty makeup on this man. Like we were talking blush and eyeshadow and foundations.
God, is that picture on the website?
Not yet, but I am going to Easter egg it somewhere of the time that Fred dressed up as a Sailor Scout.
Trailer
Scout, and we called him Trailer Bud. So if anyone knows about that, be sure to try to seek it out on the website. It's definitely an Easter egg out there.
I mean, there are, I'm sure, plenty of men that think, with a bit of makeup, I could dress up, I'd make a pretty girl. No, you won't. No, you won't, because I would like to say that I could be quite pretty sometimes. And no, I look like a Polish dock hooker, and a cheap one of that. You
do look a little rough around the edges, and I tried my darndest.
Yeah, written hard and put away wet.
That is true. There are many men out there that when they put on makeup, they are breathtaking.
We met one today, but more about that later.
But that'll be for another conversation. You, my handsome friend, you look good just the way that you are. So tell me, what did it feel like when you first put on makeup?
I mean, I remember when you suggested the first time. I mean, we just finished the 2 Sith costumes.
That's right. I did a Sith Inquisitor.
You did the Sith Inquisitor.
And you did the Marauder. That's right.
So the 3 times that I've worn it before then, I've pretty much worn the helmet all the time.
That's right.
Only removing it to give myself a break more than anything else. But at MegaCon, I wanted to walk around without the helmet because it was boiling.
That's
and my costume consisted of full racing leathers with Pepacura and Bondo armor on top of it, and then a giant lined cloak. So I was dying and sweating.
That was before we learned that, you could actually die in a cosplay if you're not careful.
And then as we were getting ready for it, you just looked up and said, You look too healthy.
Yeah, you didn't look like you had been Sithified.
No. And suggested that I allow you to put some makeup on me. My first thoughts were, no.
I don't understand what it is, and I was told when I was a kid I wasn't supposed to do this.
And that's not manly because I'm old and I don't like makeup and a whole bunch of things, which I have since very much changed my mind about.
Yep.
But you again reiterated that if I wanted to walk around without a helmet as a Sith, I needed to look more Sith-like. I needed to look drawn. I needed to look hollow. And then you brought up the all professional actors.
That's right.
Be it on stage, TV,
sure,
all wear makeup. Conventional beauty makeup that's actually done in a particular way to work under camera lights.
Yep.
And it's all designed to create an effect in lights and shadows. No different than painting armor.
Well, and also, like you said, like no different. Like cosplayers, in many ways, are actors, right? Mm-hmm. We're just walking around playing a particular part, and actors wear makeup because it is head to toe.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, I swallowed the weird feelings that I was having, and you sat me down, and it didn't take you long. It was only like maybe 10 minutes to do something under the eyes and a bit of additional shading in some other furrows to just make me look a little bit more gaunt. And then mirror, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's like 1,000 times better.
It was a little bit better because I looked back and, I mean, just talk about growth, right? We change, and we evolve and we get better at things. And at the time I was like, this looks amazing. And I look back at it now, I'm like, ooh, that was some heavy-handed makeup. And I shared a link in the chat for our website. I put one of the pictures of your Sith up. It was the one where we're like just taking, photos kind of like front, side, back so we could get the full look. And I was a little heavy-handed, but I have learned and improved over time.
But it convinced me.
Yeah.
I mean, I went from looking very suntanned and healthy looking to very pale and gaunt and hollow.
Yeah, one of my favorite pictures of you, I think our friend Heather took it at MegaCon years ago, whenever we were at the Sith, wearing the Sith, I want to say like 2015, 2016.
Yes,
but there's a picture of you with the hood over and like the deep set eyes with just like, that gaunt look was like, yeah.
Isn't that the one that is actually illuminated by the saber underneath it?
Yes.
I think that may have been at Dragon Con.
Oh, that may have been at Dragon Con. Oh, yeah. Side story there. The time that we thought it would be a great idea for you to wear your racing leathers and me to wear like a synthetic bodysuit and walk from beyond the Westin outside
beyond the Waffle House
uphill both ways to the Marriott, and I don't know how we didn't die
because you were wearing a full PVC catsuit with plastic armor on top of that and a cloak
and heels. Who wears heels in cosplay anymore? Younger people, way younger than me. But yeah, back in the day, I thought I could do that. And I guess I did, but I was also very traumatized by it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so that was one of the first times that we did makeup to try to enhance. Though when I was going back to do some research for this episode, I found a ton of photos of us trying to do makeup. And I realized that our go-to doing makeup was to use acrylic paint, like acrylic Vallejo paints, to paint on our faces.
Yeah.
Surely that's not healthy. Like, I'm pretty sure, you got a rash.
There were some red parts because I used to slather it on so thick that I'd be having to use a Scotch-Brite to scrub it off of my skin to get rid of it.
But talk about just using the tools that you have on hand. It's like, it's paint. I'm sure it'll be fine.
But we haven't gone away from using paint entirely, though, during makeup. We'll come to that in a second.
That's true.
And then I think our first foray into doing sort of like FX makeup would have been the ghoul from Fallout.
I forgot about the ghoul from Fallout, where you did the whole head
it was
thing,
the
didn't
wig
you?
cap, and then Phoenix helped us out.
That's right.
And she did the trick where you soak toilet paper in liquid latex.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a trick.
And applied that over the top of the bowl cap, and then shaded it with makeup and all the rest of it.
Right.
And then she also built up like a ridge on the nose because she was going to black out my actual nose to make it look
That's
like I
right.
had like no nose and all the rest of it.
So what exactly did she do? She used liquid latex that you can buy just at any costume shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oh, look, he brought some with us. Okay, and then you take bits of toilet paper and you kind of like mix it in.
You don't. You almost you want it like a liquid sheet, like a sheet of the toilet that's just covered it. And then she kind of slapped it on the top, and then just kind of like started pushing it with her fingers.
Interesting.
So just make like little wrinkles and weird bits on top of it.
And then it dries in place, right?
It does.
And then you can kind of go over it with
any kind of like makeup over the top of it to actually move it in.
Wow.
And then the other one was when we did Defiance.
That's the one that I remembered when we did the liquid latex. You put it on a little piece of glass, right?
Yeah.
Just poured it on. And so did you use the same effect there?
No. I mean, I was trying to do I can't remember. The race from Defiance that had the hex
the hex thing?
All over their whole thing. But they're supposed to be infiltrators. They could wear human skin like Terminators and pass as humans. And I wanted an effect where it looked like pieces of it had been blown away to reveal the skin underneath it. So literally all I did was pour out basic shapes on a piece of glass with the liquid latex, and then it dries initially with the skin over the surface, and then it takes longer to dry underneath it, and it kind of sinks in. Once I had a good solid skin, I got a Bic Biro, the hex shape one.
A Bic, a Bic pen.
Yeah,
like a pen that you like unscrewed and then.
But then I sliced it off, so I had a hex shape, and then cleaned that up, and just went around and started pressing it into the skin of the latex whilst it was still wet underneath.
Right.
And it created an indented hex pattern up to the edges, and then I got a bit of toilet roll, but this time I was rolling it up into like little bits.
Yep.
So I wanted like bits that looked like flaps of skin or the edges. That I just applied with more liquid latex around the edge, left it to dry for I think it was about 48 hours for it to fully cure.
Right.
And then just gently peeled it off the glass. And what I had was a little
I remember
latex prosthetic.
Yep.
Which I painted with acrylic paints.
Yes, you did. I do remember we also had some of the fake blood that we kind of like.
We made our own.
Did we? Oh, we made our own fake blood.
Because I wanted it to look wet and sticky. Yeah.
Yes, and we found a weird recipe online where it was. I'm trying to remember because it was awkward if we ever got searched. It was
lube.
It wasn't gonna open with lube.
Lube.
But it was chocolate syrup, like
lube.
Hershey's chocolate syrup, and lubrication that you use for dryness.
Hang on a second. So chocolate syrup and lube.
We were very afraid. If anybody went through our stuff, we'd be like, I swear it is not what you think. It's really not what you think. But it did look highly suspicious.
And then there was blue food coloring.
Yep.
And I think there might have been a little bit of like talcum powder in it to help
something
thicken it.
To like thicken it up and congeal it a tiny bit.
And then you were just dabbing it all the way around it, and like we had like little blood streaks, and in between all of the exposed pieces of fake skin, you added little dots of it so that it looked like I'd been hit by a shotgun blast that had taken pieces off. And
it actually held up remarkably well. Like I was surprised.
Adhered with spirit gum.
That's right, because spirit gum and liquid latex was our go-to. I mean, once we started actually like experimenting with more prosthetic pieces, but liquid latex and spirit gum was our go-to. And I remember that the spirit gum would always kind of peel away after a while. It just didn't last very long. And I remember I was trying to put like my elf ears on.
You got about 2 hours out of it if you were moving around and sweating, if you were lucky.
Right.
I mean, and if it was over a particularly like anything that moved, you got an hour tops before it started to peel away as it cracked on your skin.
So our next evolution was when we ran into Jay Howell at Infinity Con.
That's right.
And my ears were falling off, and he was like, "Come on over here, I'll fix it up." And he put this thing on the ears, and he put this thing on me, and he's like blowing on it, and then he popped them on. It was like, oh, tug, 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 tug. They're not coming off.
No, they did
and
not.
I said, what's that, Jay? And he said, that is Prosaid. What's Prosaid? And then the game changed.
Yeah.
So we use that now. We use that shit on everything.
And it has a multitude of uses as well. But you treat it like a contact cement. Any area where you want to apply anything to the skin, you make sure that you clean it first with 99% isopropyl alcohol. You clean the back of the prosthetic with 99% alcohol. You then put a layer of Prosaid on it, just a thin layer, on the skin and on the back of the prosthetic, and you do that twice. You wait until the first one completely dries, and then you apply a second one, and then make sure you get it in the right place.
Because once it sticks,
it's going to require some effort to get it off.
That's right.
And the pictures you've seen of the artificial eyes on both of the Inquisitors, those are foam and metal pieces. I mean, and obviously making your prosthetic as light as possible is the ideal.
Well, and I don't know. We started making prosthetics out of foam because we didn't know any better, and we saw
and because we had foam,
because we had so much foam, like we're just dripping in foam around here. But we'd watch shows like Face Off where they do like the castings and the sculpting. We're like, oh no, that's beyond our.
That seems very complicated.
That we can't do that. So we're like, we have foam. Let's see if we can stick foam to ourselves. Now, back in the day, we would take whatever we had and apply it to ourselves with whatever we had on hand. For example, when I was Rose Quartz from Steven Universe, I applied my gem to my stomach with super glue.
Because it was very heavy. It was a 3D print. And all we had, the other alternative at the time was spirit gum, and it did not work.
It did not work. But anyway, that's just how we got to where we were. We did have a question, though, regarding liquid latex. Is it possible to airbrush on liquid latex, or do you have to blend the paint with the latex? I'm trying to remember. When we started
using... You can color liquid latex with acrylic paint.
But don't you have to mix it?
Yeah, I've done it.
But I don't know that we've ever tried to airbrush on it. And here's why.
Do you know what? Well, for a start,
go on.
We're going to move forward, and we're going to remove your desire to ever touch liquid latex, and we have a trick that will allow you to move past it.
This is actually really cool.
Can we put a pin in that question, and we will answer it very shortly.
Yeah.
We're just trying to move through how things have evolved more than anything else. But Prosaid will stick on prosthetics, no trouble at all. I mean, and the lighter they are, the better. These are little fake horns that I make. I have a rubber mold, and I just press foam clay into it.
So just normal foam clay.
Can you see those?
Yeah, mostly. Here.
All right,
it looks like we're in two different rooms. We're literally sitting across from each other. So there we go. My camera is a little bit better quality than Fred's.
That is a painted version of the same piece.
That's a little painted one. This is just using acrylic paints.
Just acrylic paints.
And then you put it on.
And then you blend around it. It might even still have a bit of adhesive power left on it.
Hold on, let me see if I can stick it in the middle of my head. There we go.
All right. Power of Prosaid, still sticky.
Power of Prosaid. I love it. Then you kind of can blend out.
But that's when Jay actually taught us about Prosaid, because he put the full set of 4 around my forehead. They were so light, and they were so well
they're super, super light.
I wore those for 8 hours and kept knocking them because I forgot I had them on my head.
You totally forget them because they are so incredibly light. There's almost nothing, no sticky left on here, and they're literally sticking to my head. But kind of the next iteration when we really started talking about the airbrushing onto these is when we started using third degree, which thank you Cosplay Melee for introducing us to that.
Yes, and then Chrissy Lynn talked us through how to really work it. I mean, I had it used on me on Cosplay Melee, but I didn't really understand what they were doing.
Yep.
I mean, they had mentioned that what it was, because when you're sat in a chair for an hour and they're doing things to you, you ask questions.
What you doing up there? Yeah.
Chrissy Lynn talked us through exactly about the application, how to clean it, how to build it up in layers. And then also using Sin Wax. And they're 2 different products. Okay. This is sin wax.
Mhm.
Okay, it's a single stuff, and it is like what you think. It's like a wax, and you have to dig bits of it out with a spatula, and then roll it around in your fingers until it gets warm.
Right.
That is great for filling gaps.
Yep.
Down the sides of prosthetics. So if you've stuck something on and there's a big gap down the side of it, you can push that in there.
So that's what I
mold
did.
it,
That's what I did with the Inquisitor, where you had the kind of the claw piece come over the top.
Yeah.
I filled in around the edges with the synth wax.
Its biggest drawback is it never sets. It always becomes slightly. It always remains slightly.
I think that's because we're using it wrong, but that's just me.
There may be something that you can do to set it.
If anybody knows how to set synth wax, please let me know.
We all have Google.
That's right.
So this is third degree, and it comes in two containers. You have A and B, okay, and you want a glass surface or something,
Yep.
and you want do not cross contaminate.
Do not cross the streams.
All right, if you want two separate,
if you get any of A into B,
it will ruin the entire thing.
They're all messed up, so you have to mix them. One thing here, and then blue, 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 blue in the middle.
And then it's 50% of each. You put it on the tile, and then you put those back in their individual pots. We use the little stirring sticks from Starbucks. I steal them all the time.
We don't steal them. We buy coffee while we're there. They don't know how many sticks we need to stir our coffee or our third degree.
But then we use a third one to actually stir it and apply it. Getting the ratio together the same is important. Okay. Both Elle and I have been mixing stuff together for long enough now that we can
kind of eyeball it. There's a lot of.
But somebody suggested that there are molds that you can get. They're just like simple pyramid shapes for cake decorating.
Yep.
You could fill one with one,
Right.
and then that would become. You knew that you had the same amount of each one when you actually dug it out.
Yeah, I actually think I'm going to do that from now on, because the whole mixing by eyeball gives me such panic, because I know that if I miss it up,
it won't dry on your face. It won't set.
Yeah.
And then there's
literally
only
nothing you can do.
recourse is to actually peel it off, wipe it down with more isopropyl alcohol, and start again.
Yep.
But this stuff is amazing. It takes about 15 minutes to completely cure. But in the meantime, you can then start, as it starts to dry, start manipulating it with different tools and spatulas and sponges, as long as they've been dampened with isopropyl alcohol.
Yep, that becomes your friend. So it was like I was sticking my finger in the isopropyl alcohol and kind of dabbing it.
And you can blend it at the edges.
Yeah, and I was pulling it all, like that's what we use to make those really like creepy like burn scars. I mean, it's called third degree for a reason. But you can really manipulate it, because it's kind of like, it's heavy gelatinous until it actually
feels almost
cures.
like bathroom cork once it's cured.
It does,
but
yes.
But it has a bit of movement in it. It doesn't start to crack, and it sticks really well to skin, as long as you've cleaned your skin with isopropyl alcohol and taken all the oils out. But once you've done one layer, you can then layer another layer on top of it and create different effects. You can let it run naturally, so it looks like skin is melted, or that you've got. You can also use it to build up scar tissue around the edges of things where you want very deep scars, sort of like wounds. It's got a lot of it, and it is not that expensive.
No, it really isn't. It goes a really long way. So a couple of questions that have come through is it clear or is it white? You can actually buy it in kind of like flesh tone shades.
There is.
To kind of match, but I will tell you, you need to add a foundation makeup on top of it to truly blend it in. But that gets to the next cool thing. So once you have your third degree in place and it's looking like how you want, you go.
Normally,
yes,
the Hollywood people, they would use very expensive alcohol-based paints and foundations to actually paint and prime and shade and highlight.
But Dumb and Dumber over here had no idea that existed, so we just got like bludgeoned our way into it. So here's what we did. So after you have your third degree in place, you actually take Prosade, which is kind of a very sort of like loose liquidy material. You use a paintbrush.
It's like thin down PVA glue.
It's like thin down Elmer's glue, exactly. So you kind of dip it in there and you like start flicking it onto it, because you have to cover all of it with the Prosade, right?
But you can't just sort of brush it gently. If you do that,
it bubbles up.
It's like water on silicone. It just balls up. It doesn't stick to it.
Right.
You want a fairly sort of like flat brush and keep brushing it backwards and forwards. And you'll know when you've done it right, because it will stop pooling.
Yeah.
And it then builds up a layer on the top of it.
Right.
and then you can just warm it with a hairdryer
Blow
just to
dry it.
speed the process.
Yep.
And then you can put anything on it.
So
acrylic paint, beauty makeup.
So here's what I did, because I was a moron and I did not know what I was doing. We powdered it down after the Prosade was on, just so that it was, not
Take the
tacky
tacky
at all. And then I went into my ridiculously huge stash of beauty makeup that I've accumulated over years, and I found a good old fashioned Maybelline foundation that matched his skin tone, and just started plop, 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 and I'm putting foundation all over the whole thing. Fun fact, to wear that, I shave his head like right before he puts on that. So my husband never really has hair. And then I went through, so because he was now a little bit pale.
Yeah, no, I had a...
Yeah, like you had a line. So I blended it in with basic Maybelline foundation. And this is where I was like desperate and I didn't know what I could use on hand. I grabbed my lip stain in a pink. And with a paintbrush, I went through and just started putting some pink into the recesses. And then I used a little bit of acrylic paint in various shades of whites and stuff.
But your skill of using beauty makeup, of doing eyeshadow and blending colors on you, and all the other stuff that you do naturally, you just started applying it to.
Well, so I think the deal is that I just know how beauty makeup functions. Like I know, when you put on blush, what it's going to do. When you put on lipstick, what it's going to do. So I just took that skill and then applied it to art. So just knowing how your media works, and I started applying it on there. Once I was pretty happy with it, I took a fixative spray and just sprayed it over your entire face to kind of set it. Fun fact, you can use hairspray. It does the exact same thing. And to Allison, you asked the question about what do you do with heat and sweat. Oh, yeah, you try real hard not to.
But first time that you did third degree on me was when I took the Inquisitor in Power Armor to MegaCon this year.
Yes.
Okay. So, and where we were, I had to suit up, and I walked from the hotel.
That's true.
Across International Drive in full armor and makeup.
In full heat.
Okay.
In the brightest sun of the day.
And then up the elevator, down another elevator, and then you ran point. What I had to basically fight my way from one side of the vendor hall to the other. No, because initially I only had to make it to one side, because we came up to the side there where the pre-judging was, but the competition was on the other side.
Yeah.
That's it. That was after. But at that point, I had been wearing it for 2 hours. I had nearly killed myself crossing the street in the heat.
Yep.
Walked around in it for another hour, and it was fine.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because all I was doing at that point was dabbing with a cloth, just any perspiration. Were you wearing your neck fan at that point? Neck fans. That's my favorite part, because just having a little bit of air, it evaporates the perspiration, so it gets rid of it relatively quickly.
It keeps anything makeup that's on your face just cooler. Even if you don't need one for your cosplay,
yeah, do it for the makeup.
You're gonna wear one just to help control your body temperature and keep yourself cool and comfortable. And then if somebody wants a picture,
well, and also
I built this into mine.
If you notice, there are skulls on it. We wore that to Disney World recently. It was hilarious.
It got some very odd looks.
It was more like a charm. But Allison, to your question, is we tried real hard to just keep as much moisture and air across the makeup, but it held up remarkably well. 6
hours.
That's crazy for those makeups.
From makeup starting until the competition, which was what, 5?
5, 6? I don't know.
It was about
it's a blur for me.
It was 5. So about 6 hours in full armor and makeup, and it had started to come away in one part of the prosthetic on the top, and I think the eye had come away a little bit on the side here, alongside the nose,
right through here, because it was a pressure area.
Yeah,
it was a lot of movement, and it was kind of moved in a weird way.
So yeah, third degree
and
Prosade. Cover it with Prosade, brush it around, powder it, and then use whatever the hell you want. But
Yeah.
if you've got beauty makeup, it'll work. I mean, there is a picture on our website of a great side view of all of the makeup that Elle did with Third Degree. It looks like my ear is missing.
It does. It does look like your ear is missing.
What I actually did was I put Prosthetics down both sides of the ear. I actually stuck my own ear to the side of my face, and then Elle built up to it with Third Degree, and then added more texture, so it looked like my ear had been burnt off.
Oh, and just interesting to know, when you look up Third Degree, because we do, this is not sponsored, by the way, we just think it's a cool product. You have to look up Third Degree silicone something. Because if you look up Third Degree, it just comes up with a whole bunch of burns.
Ultimate injury simulation.
Ultimate injury simulation. But yeah, if you want to look it up to purchase it, and I'm pretty sure, what's the brand?
It's Third Degree.
Like, no, but it comes from a company. Give me the
proudly made in the USA, distributed by Alcone Company, Alcone.
Alcone. That's what I had to look up. So if you look up Alcone, Alcone, and then Third Degree, it'll take you to something that isn't a tutorial about how to, fix your burns. So that's kind of like been our process. Okay, you can put that down now.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Hello, and he's back. So that's kind of have been our process to get there. But I will tell you, like, the biggest tip or trick we can recommend, one is don't be afraid to mess things up. What's the worst thing that can happen? I don't know. You get a rash. You damage your skin irrevocably. I'm not sure.
I had other things I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay. What did you want to talk about, honey?
Right. Okay. So, spraying acrylic paint on your face. You said it was bad. Okay.
I mean,
technically
it
is. It's great for tattoos.
So this is crazy. Now, this is a matter of all of your different techniques coming together to solve a problem. So you told me that you wanted to do an aguila on your forehead as part of the Inquisitor costume. Now, I had the files for the aguila on my computer, and I knew that I could cut them on my Cricut in thin 2mm foam. So I did. And when I peeled it away, usually on your Cricut, you take out, you take all of the out, the negative out. That's the part that you want to keep.
So you actually just make it makes a template of whatever it is you want. And as you can see on this side, it's blue.
Airbrushed.
Because if you look, there's some manky bits left on this. All I did, Prosthetics on this, but I only put it on one surface rather than two, because I wanted to be able to carefully remove it.
Right.
I then positioned it. I stuck it to my head, and then Elle, layer acrylic paint.
Yep.
Airbrushed
onto his face.
Just build it up. And the nice thing about acrylic paint is if once you've got it
where you want it,
you can just peel that away.
It dries very quickly.
It dries extraordinarily quickly. And if you go over the side of the bit where you've done it, you just rub it off.
Just wash it off.
And then you're going to powder it and fix it anyway. So that gets rid of any of the Prosthetics in between where you stuck it on between.
Yep.
And you end up with great tattoos. And once it's been powdered and fixed, it will last a good while.
Because acrylic is not, it's not going to move regularly, not like makeup.
No.
So I started using the Maron makeups, the cake makeups, and they're great. But when it came to this, that would have smudged at some point. It would have come off, whereas the acrylic paint did stay. And I mean, you haven't gotten any actual rashes.
No.
It gets all over your fingers.
It's all over the inside of my lungs as well. So, and I'm probably in my stomach where I lick my brushes.
He does lick his brushes when he paints. It's not healthy, I'm sure.
Okay, two other things. Okay, this stuff is fabulous.
Rigid collodion.
Collodion.
Coloscopy.
Coloscopy.
That's not what that is.
A rigid coloscopy. That sounds terrible.
No.
This stuff is very, very easy to use. You literally, where you want a scar, you just paint it. It comes with a little brush, like so. You just paint it in a line across the surface of the skin, wherever you want the scar to be. And it's kind of, would astringent be the right word?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, it shrinks that little part of it, and it tightens it. And it makes the skin pucker like a scar.
Yep.
And you can have all kinds of fun with it. And the deeper the scar you want, you put on a second or a third layer. And then I will tell you, it works far better on areas of the face where there is loose skin.
That's true.
So if you come up around here, where where your skin is tight over the top of your cheekbones, or up here on the forehead, it doesn't work as well as say like around the cheek. But it also doesn't do well around the mouth because as your mouth
Well,
moves,
because you like
as it moves so much, it will crack it away.
Right.
But you can then also combine it with third degree.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've actually gotten the indentation, where you've got like a bit where you want a big blob of skin where the scar tissue was roughly formed, you can put that up, just work it up to the edge.
Right.
Isopropyl alcohol on the finger.
Could you use the other finger? That's rude. Rude! Oh my gosh! Stop it! Look, we just lost so many viewers.
Whatever.
Everybody left.
You just smooth it off so you can build up the edges of the scars even more in certain places to add more depth to it. And then same deal. Pros-Aid, powder, makeup, and color.
What's super, super good fun is when you're trying to study what all of these scars and burnt flesh look like.
Yeah, you
your Google searches are profoundly horrific. And the things that they then recommend to you on Facebook for your ads is terrifying. So you might want to go into incognito mode before you look up these things because it's going to be super gross. Super duper gross.
Last thing, that we used on a regular. It's always nice to look like a great cosplayer. How about smelling like one too?
This was so cool. Duffworks, our buddies, they make cosplay fragrances, and we're like,
want to smell like wet leather and damp iron? We've got a scent for that.
Who doesn't?
Want to smell like you've been walking through fire and you're covered in smoke? There's one for that too.
Actually, I think Maverick became my favorite thing to just wear around because it was very like musky and spicy.
It smelled like a spice souk.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I loved it. But it is really cool. Like if your costume, like you're outside all the time, you're like, okay, I want to smell like the dirt and the petrichor of the outside.
I have one. I need a new one. Actually, need to order a new one called Mecca. And it literally smells like the inside of a mechanic's workshop.
Yep.
It smells like oil and lubricants, and I sprayed that all over the York when I was wearing it. So yeah, it smelled like it was leaking oil, and there was like grease and stuff all over it. So that's just another little thing. So,
but it goes back to that whole of if you're going to cosplay and if you're going to act the part, we love being immersive with it.
The layers.
Yeah, and just look for every opportunity to really embrace that character. And
so,
yeah.
To summarize. Can we tilt the camera down to this?
No, you're going to have to tilt it up.
I was trying to show it as a group about what we actually use.
Hold on, I don't know if we can do this. Oh, look at that. The camera's the opposite direction, though.
Are you tilting it?
I am. I'm totally tilting it.
That's it. That's our
true.
Special effects supplies. Isopropyl alcohol, Pros-Aid, Simwax, Duffworks for smells, rigid colostomy, or whatever it's called.
That's not what that is, just to be very clear.
And third degree. That's 90% of our effects.
Plus a tiny little bit of beauty makeup, like foundations. Cream makeups are the best. So if you are going to go to your local, drugstore, Walgreens, CVS, whatever, experiment with stuff. Buy cream makeups, in my opinion, work better. Go with somebody who is very familiar with beauty makeup. Tell them what you want to do. Maybe they'll let you experiment with what they've got in their house. Goodness knows, every person who wears makeup has a whole selection of makeup that they bought and they didn't like the color and they're not ever going to use it. Feel free to take that off of their hands in a hygienic way. There's certain things that you do not share, like you don't share mascaras, you have to be very careful with lipsticks. But if they are unopened or if they were used once, go ahead and say, hey, can I just play with them? And then, experiment on your hand just to see how these different things work and, have fun with it. But my biggest piece of advice, and it is the thing that I have the biggest problem doing, is ask experts. Ask people who do this and do it well how to do. If you see somebody that's wearing something and you're like, hey, how did you do that effect? We all like to talk to each other about what we do. I'm sure they will be happy to tell you. And the brand of the cosplay spells again, it's Duftworks,
Yeah.
Duft
Twerks.
Werks, and we'll find the link and put it on our website. For that matter, there we go. Duftworks, they're great people,
Yeah, that's
super supportive.
That's Maverick. That's Skeleton. That smells like dry, deserty bones type thing.
I mean, I don't know what deserty bones smell like, but I'm going to think it's going to smell like that.
Smoke, fire.
Mm-hmm.
Those two together go really well if you want to be like a fire mage or something, or a burn victim.
Yeah, they're just super, super cool. And if there are any like resources that we could, we'll get on our website. Let us know if there's anything that we can hang on that site that would help you be better. We can put some of the links to some of these products on there, and we'll find out where Duftworks is and how you. Oh, there we go. Hello. Hold on. I'm going to share the link in the chat. There you go. Tell them Fred and Elle sent ya. Not that will get you anything, but
because we don't get discount codes.
We're not those people yet.
Yes, we had to buy our shit.
No, actually, they actually gave us a few of those to try out.
They did give us some samples
because they are extraordinarily wonderful people.
We bought more.
Oh my gosh, because their stuff is so fun. Like even when I'm not wearing cosplays, I still wear their scents because they're just really nice.
Somewhere on our Facebook page,
there is
the blind smell test that we did when they first sent us stuff. That was funny.
Yep, I actually think that I hung that on our website too. So okay, what advice? We've already given advice, tools and resources. I think that we've handed a few of those out. Yeah, best piece of advice I can give you is just to experiment.
Yeah. Back of the hand is actually a really good place to experiment.
Try it on the back of your hand, and also anybody who wears makeup will tell you the inside of your wrist. That gives you a good idea of colors. So yeah, just play around, see what you can do.
Is the inside of your wrist normally the same color as your face or something?
I don't remember. I mean, I've been doing makeup since I was 14 years old, and they told us things back in the day, and I don't know if they were true. That's just what we did. But yeah, definitely just hit up your friends.
Hiding under our desks would save us from nuclear weapons.
I mean, it was the 80s. There's a lot. That's for another episode. But thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. It warms our heart to see all of the comments. We don't feel like we're talking to the void. So we really appreciate you being with us. See you next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will be talking about... I have no idea. So please feel free to throw some ideas out there. What would you like us to talk with you about? If there's any topics in particular that you would be interested in learning more about, we would love to chat with you about it. So everyone have a great night and see you next